why you should never take psychiatric drugs. The reason is that psychiatrists believe that a lot of psychiatric disorders are caused by uh, this balance in neurotransmitters. And so they have developed drugs that increase or decrease neurotransmitters in the brain and elsewhere in the body as well, such as, well, not they don't always target neurotransmitters. They also target ion channels. So why what do you think happens when you take this drug, especially long term? Your body is trying to maintain homeostasis. When you start ingesting drugs, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream and travels throughout your body, and it's designed to get through your blood brain barrier and enter your brain and start attaching to different receptors or blocking enzymes, blocking receptors. So when you start taking this drug, it's disturbing your homeostasis, the balance in your body, like, for instance, your body wants to maintain the pH of your blood at a certain level. And if your blood becomes acidic, it tries to make it more basic. If it becomes basic, it tries to make it more acidic. And the same thing's kind of happening in the brain. So let's say you're taking some antipsychotic, which primarily blocks dopamine receptors, but also blocks other receptors like serotonin and histamine as well. When you're blocking receptors, your body probably will start expressing more receptors in the brain. So you're blocking the dopamine receptors, and there's different dopamine. There's D1 and D2 and D3 receptors, and your body will start producing more receptors. And the brain is one of those organs that doesn't really like to change too much, because you have memories that took you a long time to learn, that your brain doesn't want to change too easily, because you have learned things in your life that you don't want to unlearn, and that's why your brain doesn't really like to change all that much, which is why if you start taking a drug that affects your brain, this could become permanent. And a lot of times it does. And if you are taking a drug for more than a couple of months, and even if you're taking a small dose, it doesn't matter, you're disrupting this homeostasis, and your body is responding, and it's not going to go back to its initial state once you remove the drug. And this can lead to things like tardive dyskinesia, which they don't know exactly what causes it, but it's a fairly common side effect as a result of taking antipsychotics, where you have these involuntary muscle movements that can range from being just a little bit annoying to absolutely making you dysfunctional, where you can't even function properly anymore. And these effects happen with all drugs, all psychiatric drugs, such as antidepressants, which block serotonin in your brain. They block the enzyme that removes the serotonin from the synapse after it binds to the synapse, the terminal end. There's an enzyme that will remove the serotonin, so these receptors are not being constantly activated. This drug blocks that enzyme. As a result, the serotonin stays longer in the synapse. And of course, this is disrupting your brain chemistry, and can cause an upregulation of serotonin levels, can cause hypersensitivity, and, another drug that's prescribed, anticonvulsants. This is mainly used for epilepsy. However, it's also used for psychiatric disease such as bipolar, like lamotrigine. And, a lot of these drugs, they're not fully understood completely. Their mechanism of action is not fully known. And, they think that they know that this drug mainly blocks sodium receptors in the brain, which are the main receptors that allow nerve signals to propagate throughout the brain, and not just the brain, but throughout your entire body. These sodium channels are very important, voltage gated sodium channels, which is what this drug targets. Doesn't block it completely, because that it would make it like a neurotoxin, but more like it kind of increases the time it takes for it to become active again, because once it's activated, it becomes inactive for some period of time, and then it becomes activated again. And so this drug kind of increases the time that it takes for it to become deactivated. And it's a good chance that when you take this drug, lamotrigine, it's causing your body, it's of course disrupting your homeostasis, causing your body to probably produce more sodium channels, receptors, voltage gated. So now your nerve cells, they're much more sensitive to sodium because you have more receptors. And this drug doesn't just block sodium receptors, it blocks calcium receptors. It has an effect on serotonin levels. It supposedly increases serotonin. There's some type of enzyme that it blocks, potentially. They don't really know. But I don't know if I forget the name, so, you just have to know that these drugs are very bad for you. They will disrupt your brain chemistry permanently, and could lead to permanent side effects as a result. So if you ever go to the doctor and he prescribes you some type of drug whose primary target is your nervous system, never, ever take it, unless you have some type of life-threatening condition. Then you should maybe consider taking it, but take it at the smallest dose for the least amount of time, because the longer you take these drugs, they're dose dependent. The longer you take them, the higher the dose, the more damage you're doing to your body. We know that lamotrigine, for instance, binds to melanin in the body, which is the pigment that gives like your hair color. It protects you from UV radiation, protects your skin from UV radiation. So this forms some type of complex with melanin. and it probably sticks around for a long time. They don't really know if this new complex that occurs when lamotrigine, which is flowing around your blood, when you take it, is it toxic to your body? Are you accumulating some type of toxin in your body when you're taking this drug? They don't really know. And you probably are, you probably are damaging your body taking this drug. Um, and who knows, maybe it binds to some other chemical in your body that they don't even know about. A lot of these drugs, this is the nature of biomedical research. It's not ethical to to do medical experiments on humans. It's a very controversial thing. You know, there's a lot of uh, restrictions, a lot of obstacles, so they can't really do research the way they want to do it, and they just don't know a lot of things about what these drugs do to you exactly, because maybe for different reasons, like they just don't know, they're not able to study it, because think about it, right? How are you gonna people don't want to take these drugs. They also don't want to be hamsters. They don't want to be lab rats. They don't want to be constantly measure they don't want to sit in a hospital, have some doctor doing tests on them all day long while they're administrating some type of drug into them. Nobody wants to be that person, and that's why medicine, it's an experimental field. you know they don't really know exactly what's going on when you're taking drugs. For instance, Tylenol is an example of a drug that's been around for so many years, acetaminophen, right? And they used to think that it was a COX inhibitor, like ibuprofen, that it was inhibiting these prostaglandins chemicals. Now they've changed they don't think now they have a totally different understanding of its mechanism of action. And this is like one of the most popular drugs taken over the counter. you know so just never ever take psychiatric drugs. They don't just damage your brain, they damage other organs. They can cause high cholesterol, they can cause high blood pressure, they can cause metabolic syndrome, obesity, just a collection. This is what metabolic syndrome is. It's a collection of all these different health problems like hypertension and visceral fat, diabetes, and these drugs cause it because they're interfering with your body, not allowing it to function properly, and these doctors won't tell you this a lot of times. They're not gonna tell you this. In my experience, like, I have good health insurance, and I talk to doctors that graduating from very respected schools, and they will not tell me these things when I ask them questions about it. They only talk to me for about 10-15 minutes. They don't really get into too much detail about anything, and it's really up to you to find out these details yourself. And if you're not coming from some type of science background like I am, You're not going to be able to figure these things out on your own. And so this is why, I've made this video for people to understand these things and understand the dangers of the pharmaceutical industry, the dangers of the entire medical industry, and how these pharmaceutical companies, they're companies, and as much as the government tries to prevent companies that are, working in the medical industry to be, putting profits over patients' health, unfortunately, money always finds a way to corrupt people, and when they see a way to make money, they're gonna try and make money, and these pharmaceutical companies are doing a lot of bad things, and they're getting in trouble for it, and they keep doing it because they know they can get away with it. They're they're making their research look, they're making their research biased. They're showing that the drug is good without telling you about all the side effects, without telling you about all the risks, and all the bad things about the drug. Things like this, I have met in my life, I've seen so many people who live, 9 decades. They're living into their 90s, never took any pharmaceuticals, except maybe like, I don't know, like some over-the-counter things, like maybe Tylenol, or some type of herbal tea when they have a cold. And they were not athletes. They're just living their life, live a long, healthy life. You don't need drugs to live a long, healthy life. You don't even need to go to the doctor, a lot of these health government agencies, they're saying just eat high fiber diet, whole wheat bread, eat fruits and veggies, don't eat too much sugar, don't drink alcohol, don't smoke, get some cardiovascular exercise like running like 3-4 times a week, 150 minutes a week, and do a little bit of weightlifting, do a little bit of bicep curls, chest press, you don't even have to lift weights. It's probably better for you to lift weights, but if you just cannot lift weights for whatever reason, you can do body weights, you can do calisthenics, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, things like this, dips. I mean, it's better than nothing, that's all. Avoid toxins, like don't breathe in car exhaust fumes, don't eat things from plastic, don't eat things from styrofoam. Just avoid these things, which I think is kind of well known to a lot of people, right? And you'll probably live a long life just doing this, and just be very aware, because the medical industry right now, they are ordering a lot of tests for you. X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, blood tests. They all have risks. Even blood tests have risks. Even blood tests, every medical procedure, whether it's a imaging procedure or a blood draw, they all have risks. Something can go wrong, something can go bad, and best to avoid it, For most people, all you got to do is they usually just check like your blood sugar, they check your lipid panel, they check your vitamin D levels, things like this. Make sure you're not diabetic, make sure don't have high cholesterol, make sure you don't have high blood pressure. Most people vitamin D is low, and I actually would recommend that you take a vitamin D supplement, like 1,000 UI. You know, you could take it every day, you could take it every other day. You just take it. Um, that's pretty much the only supplement I recommend you take. Unless you had some type of specific health condition. Because like these fish oil supplements, which is another decent supplement to take, better to take it better to get your healthy fats from fish. Buy some wild salmon and eat it once, twice, 3 times a week. And that's what these Mediterranean diets, which is the healthiest diet, they eat fish more than they eat like poultry or like chicken and beef. They pretty much don't eat any red meat, very little red meat. They don't really eat a lot of chicken either. They do eat chicken, but not too much. You know, they eat they eat more fish than chicken. Healthiest diet, you will probably there's a good chance that if you live long enough, it's gonna be your cardiovascular system that kills you. And I've seen a lot of people like this. You know, they don't die from cardiovascular problems directly, but like their kidney disease is because of their cardiovascular problems. They're not getting enough blood flow to their kidneys, so their kidneys are failing. They're not getting enough blood flow to their brain, so they have dementia. You know, because their arteries are blocked from smoking, from they've been damaged. They damage their cardiovascular system from smoking, from having high blood pressure, from having diabetes. And now they're not getting enough blood flow to vital organs like kidneys and brain, and they die from from dementia, from kidney failure. You know, so if you focus on heart health, you should live a very long life, because the chances of you dying from other diseases is actually not that high. It's not that high. Anyways, I just want to tell you about some knowledge I've picked up throughout my life. I was actually working in the medical field. I don't work anymore, but I was working there. I have a lot of family that works in the medical field. And I've just read a lot about health, how to stay healthy. And I'm just trying to tell you these things in a simple way, so you don't have to go and read research papers like I did. You don't have to read textbooks like I did. I'm just extrapolating all this information for you to simply understand. Kind of like what ChatGPT does. I'm kind of telling you about the dangers of psychiatric medication, kind of how to stay healthy, and all these things like this.